the newly restored Warmley Signal Box, and let's go in and meet Graham Darby, the signalman. Hello Graham.
Hello Catherine.
You worked in the signal box back in the 60s?
I did, yes. Back in the early 60s I was employed by British Rail as a signalman, and I frequently worked this signal box right up to the time of its closure. When I left school I was immediately employed by the railway company, and I worked in a signal box, and after training I was a telegraphist. Of course that doesn't entail being a signalman at that stage. I was there for 4 years, and eventually I qualified to become a signalman. And my first post was on a single line, on a branch line near Devizes in Wiltshire. I had several promotions, visiting different signal boxes in doing so. And during these times I became accustomed to a busy junction, a busy station, military marshalling yards, and I was also involved in slipcoach working, which is on the main line, on the Berks and Hants line between Reading and Exeter. My final promotion brought me to Bristol. I moved home to Mansfield, and it was there that I took on this duty in this area. I had to learn a number of different signal boxes throughout the length of this branch line, so that I was able to be used to cover sickness or annual leave and things like that, should the case arise at any time. That's what brought me to Warmley.
So what was it like working this signal box?
This signal box is completely different to the comparisons I mentioned earlier on about busy stations and junctions and things. This one introduced something I'd never seen before, and that was a level crossing, where the railway ran at the same level as the road traffic did. And I hadn't come across this before, so this was a bit of a learning curve for me. The three issues here, the three safety issues here are the safe conduct of trains over the crossing, pretty obvious, together with all the hundreds of passengers that involved. And secondly, there's the safety of the road traffic. They had to be conducted safely over the crossing as well. And in those days there were no such things as traffic lights to warn drivers of vehicles that their gates were about to be closed. The signalman simply had to use his own judgment on that. And the third safety factor was pedestrians. There are pavements on both sides of the crossing, and these had to be carefully controlled as well to prevent any pedestrians slipping through and meeting with a nasty accident perhaps.
That's a lot to think about. So what would you have done in this signal box to help the train leave the station and carry on the tracks?
Yes, well, most of the levers in this signal box are all mainly to do with the actual running of the trains. But on this end, I'm leaning against a large wheel here, and two small levers here, and two larger levers here. These were all connected with the level crossing. These two levers here actually unlocked the gates when you need to move them. And by unlocking I mean this stops that occur to prevent the gate moving. So they had to be unlocked first. And then we came to the wheel, which had to be rotated. And the wheel was rotated quite a lot of times. As you may see from this knuckle here, that knuckle had to traverse the full length of this frame in order to swing the gates fully. The wheel had to be rotated, and you must keep an eye on the road traffic at all times. Some drivers are a bit anxious to get by and will try and weave through if they possibly can. So you have to have prompt action with the wheel to stop the gates moving should that happen. After that, the remaining levers in the signal box would be used to allow a train to carry through the crossing. Once the train is clear of the crossing, then the reverse had to happen. You would unlock the stops again and rotate the wheel and allow the road traffic to recommence its journey. It's been a delightful time for me being invited back to this signal box, something I never thought would happen. And I met so many people at our opening day asking a variety of wonderful questions that kept me on my toes. It's been a great time, and I shall ever be thankful for this opportunity. Thank you.
The restoration of Warmley Signal Box hasn't just been about the restoration of this building, this Grade 2 listed building. It's been about bringing alive the whole of the station. We started the restoration with building a community garden, which is tended by a group of adults with learning difficulties. And as soon as we built the garden, any vandalism in the old signal box stopped. It's taken 3 years to restore the signal box fully, starting with the outside of the box, and 3 years till we got to the 1st of September 2013, which is the 95th anniversary of the box's construction back in 1918. So now we have a fully restored signal box in correct London Midland Railway colours with electricity and available to hire. And what better place to hold a meeting or a little party or a romantic meal or a roadshow with thousands of visitors passing every day on the railway path.